Hi everyone, my name's Kayla Weckler. I know I've talked to a lot of you guys on the phone already, but I just wanted to introduce myself and put a face with a name. So we are going to get started. I know there's only 4 of you guys right now, but in an effort to respect your time for being here early and on time, we're going to get started. So our presentation is going to be about NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars 2.0, and we'll be giving you a lot more information. But first I want to introduce the people that are in the room. So you've already met me, and I'm one of the project managers for our community college program. And here is Alicia.
Hi everybody, I'm Alicia Batteroni-Cortez, another project manager for this project, and I will now swivel you over to Cindy MacArthur, who is our JSC STEM engagement lead.
Good morning everybody. I oversee all our STEM engagement activities here at JSC, and our community college programs are one of those activities.
Sorry, hope nobody got dizzy there. We're going to go ahead and turn the camera off for a moment so that I can step you through this interface that we're using today. Many of you may be familiar with Blackboard Collaborate in your work with your school, but for those of you who don't, we're just going to take a few minutes to show you a few of its features. So I'm going to turn my video off, and hopefully you can still hear me. On the left-hand side of your screen, you should have 3 different panels, and if you read those from top to bottom, you've got your audio and video panel, your participant panel, and then a chat window. And so we're going to take a quick look at each one of these panels and give you a chance to try out some of those tools. On the audio and video panel in the left-hand corner of your Blackboard Collaborate window, you've got tools for using a microphone and for controlling your volume levels, and also to control your web camera if you have one. To make sure that you can hear and be heard, you can do the Audio Wizard setup, which is the little, let's see if I can point to it here. It's the little microphone-looking thing with a red cog on it, and so that can help you set up your speakers and microphone. So that's it right there. So anytime you want to talk, if you have a microphone, you would click that talk button, and that turns on the microphone. And we ask that the default is that they're all set to off, and that if you do want to talk, you click that, you'll see this little blue microphone appear next to the word talk. That lets you know that your mic is on, that you got a hot mic. And then when you're done speaking, you just click that button a second time to turn it off. And the video works similarly. There's a little icon here with a magnifying glass over it. You can actually click that to preview what your image would look like before you click the video button and make it live, so that you can adjust your camera and lighting to best be seen. Moving on to the next panel, this is your participant panel, and so this should have your name at the top. And if you're joining us on a mobile device, there are some of these features that you may not be able to see. So in this participant panel, you have a number of features. And we're going to look at the 4 buttons that are underneath your name and show you what each of those do. The first is the emoticon button. And so if you hover your mouse over that, you will see a series of things that you can choose from. So I'm going to invite you to do that right now. And you can pick one of those to have that little symbol appear next to your name. And I can see Martha is smiling, so is John. And so that kind of gives us an indication of how we've got a thumbs up from Dr. Harris, great. So that tells us how you're feeling during the session. It's a way to indicate your status. Another thing that you can show us is if you need to step away from your computer. We try to make these interactive sessions, and so we call on people and call out names and wait for responses from each of you. But if you know that you're going to be stepping away from your computer, we just ask that you indicate as such by clicking the second button here. And what will happen is a little clock and an away will appear next to your name, and that just lets us know not to expect to hear from you. And you can click it a second time when you return so that we know that you're present again. The third button that you have there is your Raise the Hand button. And a lot of people click this mistakenly to show applause. And what happens is we hear a ding, and then there's a number that appears next to your name, and then you're embarrassed, and then you click it again to unraise your hand. But so if you wanted to show us applause, you would use your emoticon button, that first button. So let's have everybody try that out. Go back to your emoticon button and see if you can applause. Give us a virtual round of applause. All right. Alvin Community College has it. All right, very good. So thank you. Thank you. That's how you applaud. However, there may be a situation where you want to speak, and many of you might want to speak at the same time, so we'd ask you to raise your hand. So you can go ahead and try that right now and see what happens. Raise your hand. And you'll see that Howard College was quick to respond, and they managed to put themselves at the front of the line. And so if you look in the participant window, you will see that underneath your name, you've been given a place in line. So Howard College unraised their hand, so they're dropped off. So right now, Martha's number 2, John's number 1, and so on. And so you can unraise your hand by clicking that button again, but that just helps us manage multiple people at once who want to speak. The final button that you have is a polling button. That allows you to tell us that yes, you agree with something, or yes, you're ready to move on, or no, you're not. And so we use that for a variety of purposes as well. So those are your 4 buttons. Those are ways to interact with us. And then the final thing that we will show you is the chat panel. That's the one at the bottom, and it works very much like chat and other applications you might use. You simply type your text into this little part down here, and you can actually draft a response before you publish it, so to speak. So you could type in that window, and we won't see it until you hit enter. And so that's a way for us to save some time, too. If you know that you have a question and you're just waiting for the time for it to be appropriate to ask the question, you can pre-type your answer in there and then hit enter when you want it to appear. You also have the ability to choose an emoticon to go with the comment or question that you have, and you have a variety of interesting ones here to choose from. So go ahead and you can give us a greeting of some kind in the chat window and pick an emoticon to go with your greeting. So let's have everybody do something like that right now. And when you're doing that, I can tell that you're typing in the window because a little speech bubble appears next to your name. So hello, we've got basketball from South Plains College. J.B. Grove says hi, everyone. Hello, good morning. Great to be with you too, Christina. Looks great. Okay, so West Texas, how's it going, Howard College? Good to have you here. Looks great. So I'm now going to show you the last feature you might be asked to use, and this is a little toolbar that you'll find next to all those panels. And there's lots of things that you can do with that, but I'm going to ask you to focus on the last one, which is the clip art tool. And if you click on that, you will see a variety of choices that come up. And I would ask you to click on the Common Symbols tab, and that gives you all sorts of little bits of clip art that you can choose from. So click on your clip art tool, click on your favorite piece of clip art from the Common Symbols, and on this next page, I will ask you to stamp that piece of clip art down onto this map to indicate your current location. So I'll give everybody a minute to try that out. Anybody else want to try that out? There we go. Nice. All right, so that's your overview of Blackboard. This is a tool that we use for Community College Aerospace Scholars. We use it with the students. We use it for our recruitment sessions. We use it for a lot of different purposes. So I'm happy to have been able to introduce it to you if it's your first time using it. What I'd like to do right now is turn things back over to Cindy MacArthur to give you a welcome And then whoa, that's a big smiley face. All right. And then we'll go ahead and we'll ask you to introduce yourself. So Cindy, it's all you.
Thank you. Well, that big smiley face is obviously a result of it being Friday, or at least it is in our world. I wanted to start off by thanking all of you for your many contributions to Community College Aerospace Scholars. It's one of our very special programs here at JSC, and we're excited about new opportunities to expand it and grow it, and also new ways to do business differently. Without your help over the past years in bringing in your students, we couldn't be in this great position to move forward. And we appreciate your help and look forward to having your help in the future. You heard Kayla use the term COST 2.0, and my job right now is to give you a little bit of context on what that means. At Johnson Space Center, our center director, Dr. Ellen Ochoa, uses the term JSC 2.0, and what she's done is challenge all the organizations on site to come up with a newer, better version of what we do. And that can be a result of making our human spaceflight programs to make them more agile, responsive, and adaptive, as you see from the slide. And obviously, we're doing that because we're getting ready to launch a new capsule on EFT-1 on December the 4th, and we just made an announcement for NASA commercial crew-funded spaceflight programs. So obviously it applies to those operational offices here on site, but JSC Education has embraced the concept of 2.0 and looking for ways to make ourselves more agile, more efficient in the future. You probably know, in addition, that the Office of Education at the agency level has undergone a number of changes as well. We just welcomed a brand new Associate Administrator for Education, Donald James. He comes to us from the Ames Research Center in California, and he is brand new to the job. He's been in Washington just a couple of weeks, and we look forward to hearing his new direction for education as well. And of course, we're the federal government, so over the course of the past couple of years, we've dealt with some financial challenges across all the agencies and across all the missions here at NASA, including education. So I have talked to the folks that I work with and asked every single one of our STEM engagement programs to embrace this 2.0 concept and to look at new models and new ways to do business. And through that process, we are taking a look at every one of our activities and reevaluating how we could be better, how we could identify opportunities to grow, and how we could better meet the needs of our target audiences. So one of the things that we've worked on with Community College, and this is one thing that I hope you'll help us with, is that we recognize community college students are a very unique audience for us. And something that I've asked Kayla and Alicia to do is really get smarter about that audience. And you're obviously folks who deal with students and know their needs better than anybody else. And so part of our new model is to make sure that we align very much with the needs of both community college professors and the students. We are ready to move forward with what we think are some really, really good changes to our community college model. We're excited to share them with you today. We're going to go into this with our 2.0 mindset and talk to you about some of the ways that we see efficiencies and improvements in how we do community college programs. And I'll turn it over to Kayla, who is going to talk to you a little bit about the specifics.
Thank you, Cindy. As we move through, actually we're going to go back one slide and we're going to do introductions with everyone else. So we are going to go through the list and I will call on you, and as soon as we do that, if you could press your talk button, which Alicia showed you earlier, and you can say your name, your college, and your position at your college. And then remember after you've finished that part of it that you click the talk button again so that your mic is turned off. So let's start with Christina, first on the list. I can see that Christina's typing, so I'm guessing that she might not have a mic either today. And as Alicia just pointed out, you guys can also type in here to do your introductions if you don't have a mic, and that's fine. So let's move on. Oh, great. Okay, so Christina, you're from Houston Community College, and you're physics full-time faculty. That's great. Let's do Deanna. She's next on this list. Deanna's also typing. John, you have your hand raised. Does that mean you have your microphone?
Yeah, that means I made an accident. I'm sorry. But let me go ahead and tell you that I'm John McLean from Temple College, and I teach physics, environmental science, as well as astronomy.
All right, we had a little bit of technical difficulties, so we couldn't hear you on this end. John, would you be able to do your introduction again one more time?
Yes. I'm John McLean. I teach physics, astronomy, and environmental science at Temple College.
We're going to work through this one, but if you guys can just continue to type your introductions if you don't have your mic. And if any of the rest of you do have your mic, can you raise your hand for me? All right, let's see if we can hear Lenny when he talks.
Hey Kayla, thank you for having me. Lenny Christoph from Howard College. I am a STEM grant manager and I'm a business faculty.
All right, thanks, Lenny. All right, so let's see here. And Michael, I see that you have your hand raised. Do you have your mic also?
Yes, I'm Michael Felty from Trinity Valley Community College. I teach physical science and chemistry, and I'm also the honors program director.
All right, thank you, Michael. We're going to work through some of our microphone stuff as we go through the next couple of slides, and we'll give you a chance to do some of the talking later also. But if any of you did not get a chance to type in your introduction in the bottom, if you could go ahead and type that in the chat window now, that would be really great so that we can know who's here and who all of your roles at your different colleges. All right, so are you ready to just move forward then? All right, so first I'm actually going to turn my video off because I know that that makes it slow on some of your all's end, and I want you to be able to see all of the slides and the audio to come through right. Okay, so to start, we're going to go over some of the background. I think it's just helpful to know where we started with the programs. So we originally started with what all of you hang on one second. So Deanna is saying that we can't see anyone else's chat comments. Okay. Deanna, if you can click on the Room tab at the bottom of your screen, the bottom left part of the chat window, that might help you to be able to type to everyone else and see all of theirs. And I can look at getting some of these slides to you, Lenny. We'll just have to see, and it will also be recorded, so you'll be able to go back as well and look at them. But yeah, so the background. So as you guys all know, we started with Texas Community College Aerospace Scholars, and that's what all of you have been a part of for a while. We have the point of contact method where we have POCs in all the districts of Texas, and we communicate with them in order to bring in groups of students here on site at JSC. And a number of years ago, we realized that this could actually be almost a franchise opportunity. We could start working with some of the other centers here with NASA, and it would help us reach students across the nation so that we could get more students, and we could also use more of NASA's unique assets, because we could have students go to different centers like Marshall or JPL and see some of the things that are going on there. And with that transition, we couldn't really use the POC model anymore because it wouldn't be realistic to have a POC at every district in the country. So we really started focusing on the students and bringing students in individually. And so at that point, even though we had this idea that the two would be the same, we really started going into two different paths. And as you can see, some of the list there, we had the two programs had different requirements, even down to who was eligible to apply. We had different recruiting pushes, which really kind of hurt us here in Texas because we were almost competing against each other for similar students, and we had different timelines, which meant that we may be starting the NCOS, the national program, in September, but then we wouldn't be starting the Texas one until October, and then things would get very complicated on our end. And so a lot of the structure and how we ran things just wasn't really meshing well here at JSC. And it also affected some of our on-site experiences, and it made them very different. For instance, we have the POCs come with the students here, but at the other centers we brought students individually, so it just made very different things going on, and it was at times hard to manage. And even if we look at this list of differences, you can probably guess that it costs a lot of extra time and money to be able to run two very similar things but very differently. So we needed to figure out a way that we could bring back some efficiency and save some of that money so that we could focus it directly on the students. So if you can go to the next slide. So as I said, we wanted to really put that focus back on the students, and in order to do that, we needed to clean up those inefficiencies, and so that can allow us to put those time and resources directly towards our students. And so what we are working on, and what we have done a lot to change in the last month and talk through, is we will be combining Texas Community College Aerospace Scholars with our national cost program to create NASA costs. What that will do for us is we can have one strategic recruiting push, so we can go out together, recruit from Texas, we can recruit from California, we can do all of it at the same time. We can reach the entire nation that way instead of just putting our efforts in different pots at different times. It also allows us to clean up our timeline a little bit. So now we can offer two courses. We can start a fall course. We can have recruiting go on in the late spring session, but then have people start their online curriculum in early fall and be able to come on site in the fall, condensing our timeline, which I know a lot of people, when I talked to you all during my calls earlier, last month, I think, talked about how it might be nice to get our timelines condensed into one semester. And then we can have it run again in the spring. And now we have one combined effort. We have all of our students applying at one time to one application. We have all of our students in one course. It just makes everything a little easier. We're also able to increase our instructional assistance because we can hire some instructors that can guide the students through, which actually the national program had been doing this fall and got a lot of great results from, so we want to be able to increase that. We can also focus on individual travel so that students have the flexibility to be able to attend any session they want on any dates that we have available if it works out with schedules better, instead of forcing groups of students into 1 week. And at the end of the day, it allows us to have more on-site sessions. So we can have we have sessions here at JSC, we have some at JPL, we have Marshall, Stennis. We can get a lot more people involved by using this one method. And we'll get into a little bit more of the timeline later on, but these are just some of the ways that we've already been able to see major differences in talking about this combination. All right, so next slide, please. Actually, just a second. Okay. So you may be wondering why we all called you in to talk about this, and part of it is because there are going to be some impacts to the POC role. And mainly that's because rather than focusing on the district teams, which we have been doing in the past in Texas, we're going to be moving on to a focus on the individual students. So we will be working with them to bring them in for travel and those types of things so that we won't have them come all together at one time. We don't want this to feel like we're not still including you in the team, though. We have a lot of roles that we feel you guys offer to us because, as it's been said a couple of times, you all are the experts in community college and community college learning and understanding that student body. And so we still will need a lot from you to be able to make this program successful. Some of the things that will continue in your role are things like recruitment. We hope to work with you to be able to still get your students that are in your classrooms and on your campuses into our programs. I know that some of you even have used some of the curriculum in the past in your classes, and we hope that we can still work with you to be able to include that in some of your classes, either in the fall or the spring, to help your students along. But there's going to be some new things. So obviously with the on-site experience focusing on bringing individual students, we will not have the POCs travel with their students to the on-site experience. We believe that this will be able to allow us to focus on getting more students involved and giving their experience the best it can be. We also have a new initiative that we're going to be talking about with you guys today, and it's going to be Community College Ambassadors. And I'm going to get a little bit more into that in the next slide, but first we think that this might be a good time to pause and see about some questions or comments that you might have. So I know not all of you have your microphones, but and we're having some sound issues in here still, even though we've worked every single microphone that we have. So if you can start using the chat window, we'll be following along on that, and we can answer some of your questions or comments verbally. So it looks like Lenny has a question, so if you can go ahead and start typing that in your chat window, that would be great, and anyone else can as well. Sorry, no matter how many times you practice this stuff in the room that you're going to be in, there's always technical difficulties. I don't know how that winds up happening, but as of right now, yes, we will be funding the travel for the students. Oh, okay, so answering the question from a grant management perspective, you all are saying that NASA will fund all of the travel. And yes, as I was just saying, we will be funding the travel for the students. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? You can raise your hand so I make sure I get to you before we move on to the next slide. I don't see anyone else typing, and I don't see anyone else with their hands raised, so I'm going to assume that we're good to move on. But if that's not the case and you guys do have questions, you still have that chat window open, and we'll have opportunities coming on later in the slides that you can also continue to ask questions. It looks like, okay, so Lenny also asked, we are no longer needed to escort our students, and that's going to be correct. So we're going to work with the students on an individual basis and set up their travel for them so that they can come here. We just think that it gives them a little more flexibility, and it also allows us to reach out to more students. So if you all are ready to move, I'll keep looking at the chat window, and Alicia will keep monitoring it, and we will, when you're ready, you can press the green check mark and we can look at it. Okay, so John said that his college has policies against students traveling without an escort, and that mine may too. We've been working with community colleges throughout the country, and we haven't run into this issue before. It would be something that they would be signing up for on their own as an individual basis. It wouldn't be something that they're signing up for through their school. So we may have to talk and go through it a little bit more, but I'm not sure how the policy would apply to someone that's 18 and is illegal as their own guardian. Does Cindy or Alicia, do you have any other thoughts?
But we can talk that through if they find that they...
Okay. So if you guys, so it looks like a lot of you have some of those same concerns, and so we can look at that. Maybe if we can get some of the policies that you guys have, if you can email them over to me and we can look at them and we can kind of talk through on our end and get some more information out to you about it. I know my students. John, what do you mean by their own cards? Or is that maybe supposed to say cars or? Okay, well, it wouldn't be a college-sponsored event necessarily. It would be a NASA-sponsored event. Well, I would think that, I mean, as a facilitator, I know that it is going to be a tough transition for you all, but I would believe that your incentive would be that you would want your students to have an experience like this and get the chance to go to NASA and still get to go through the curriculum. And maybe as we get into talking more about the community college ambassadors, you'll feel a little more comfortable about it, but I would hope that that was somewhat of an incentive. Okay. We're going to move to the next part and talk about that and see if that helps at all. But one of the new things is we realized that this was going to be a tough transition, and we didn't want to make it a straight, we don't want you involved anymore. And so this new thing is going to be called Community College Ambassadors. And the idea is that it's here to replace some of the previous professional development that you all did on site. And from what I understand from a lot of the conversations I had with you all is that the professional development that we are offering wasn't really up to par for what you all needed. And so we wanted to give you a chance to kind of learn from each other and be able to also help us understand community colleges a little bit better. And so this will still be able to keep you involved in NCOS, but it'll just be in a different capacity. And with this, you will also be provided opportunities to network with other NASA centers and their education offices, because we will be working with other NASA centers. And in addition, we'll be able to keep up to date on a lot of the latest community college topics like the student body and things like that. So the next slide will give some details. We are having a summit here in November. It'll be during one of the NCOS's fall sessions. It runs the 12th through the 14th, but the 12th is kind of an introduction day, so we're looking at really having people here the 13th and 14th. And like I mentioned on the last slide, it'll be a networking opportunity as well as a presentation opportunity. And we are looking at bringing in some of our POCs here so that you guys can get to talk to the NASA centers that are coming in. They're going to be here for those days learning about how we do things here so that they can apply it at their own center. You'll also be able to talk to each other, and we're even looking for some presentations that might be able to help share with us some of the things that we're interested in learning about community college students. We want to learn about things like the student body and how they work, different things like that. And so we're just looking for some presentation opportunities. And I was looking for my list of the things, but I'm not finding it on these. Oh, you know what, it might be right here. Yeah. Okay, so some of the issues that we were thinking about that could be good presentation topics are understanding the issues that your students that your students contend with, understanding the culture of community college in general, understanding some of the issues that you all face as you try to get students more involved with STEM, and understanding both the biggest strengths and the biggest challenges of educating STEM majors in a community college setting. And so we're hoping that some of you guys might be interested in coming here. We do have some funding that we can help for you guys to travel. And it would be, I think, a great on-site experience to be here and be able to not only network with us, but network with each other and give each other that professional development that I think a lot of you all were looking for, rather than us just giving you what we know. Another part of this ambassador program was that we wanted to keep it going throughout the year. So we wanted to offer some virtual quarterly meetings through FY15. So that starts right now. We would skip the first quarter because you guys would be coming here, and then moving on, you would have some NASA SMEs, so some of our subject matter experts that are doing unique NASA research here. We could give you guys a 30-minute presentation, and you guys could have some question and answer with some of those experts so that you can incorporate it into your classrooms. And then for the last part, we can either have short presentations done by you all or done by us on upcoming things that we think are important, and then being able for you guys to, again, network with each other. So I think that we are ready to move to the next slide, which should be another questions and comments. And I'm thinking that we're going to have quite a few. So if you guys can, again, just use the chat window to be able to express some of these things, then we can get to your questions. Yes, it will. We would be able to help you get ready for that and give you guidance for your students too as well. Oh, sorry. I was answering the question about the value added in guiding our student body to prepare and complete the prerequisites. So yes, this opportunity would allow for that. It will give you a good chance to be able to see what's going on here, what they would need to know. And we can even go over some of the applications and curriculum that we have. Will the POC still have access to your online training course? And yes, we can still be able to give you some of the curriculum, and as we make changes, we can even keep in contact with you, because I know that some of you use it to guide some of your courses, and so we don't want to lose that. We don't want you guys to lose that or your students to lose that. So JB is saying that he uses the curriculum, and that's great. I think that we're really happy that people can use that and really be able to guide a course on it. And that's even a great recruiting tool. They can still be able to come here after they complete it, and it would just be in a different capacity. Christina, I see that your hand is raised, so do you have another question? It looks like you're typing, so you might, oh, there it is. Okay, so will you be posting this presentation online so that we can discuss it with our colleagues? I can definitely look at getting it together to post, and this session's also recorded, so you guys can watch it again or watch it with your colleagues. Okay, so Lenny, on the professional development day, can we have our student body presidents of our STEM clubs attend? We have not discussed that yet, but it's definitely something that we can think about, and so that's a great question, and we can talk about it and get back to you with an answer on that one. I like thumbs up. Okay, so it looks like questions are done for right now, so we're going to move to the next slide, and Alicia is actually going to go over some of our future planning for 2014 and 2015.
Okay, let's have a look here. So the slide that you have in front of you is a timeline, and we wanted to point out some of the things that are what kind of time frame we're looking at for many of the activities. And so the first box here just shows you that we did offer a fall version of COS this fall, and that session ran from August to the end of September. Those students are going to be placed in workshops that happen in November and December of this year. And so that first workshop is at the same time that we plan on holding the stakeholder summit, to which you are invited. Right now, we have just kicked off. We're in the midst of the beginning of our spring recruitment for these spring workshops. And so Kayla will talk to you in the next slide about some of the recruitment materials that we will provide you with if you need to get the word out at your college campus. So we have a lot of tools and resources that you can put into play. The online session, you'll notice, is shorter than we have previously used. We've compressed this into a 5-week online session that will start in January and run through the beginning of February. We hope to be able to have all those final projects graded and select students for placement by February 24th. So on that date, we would notify the students as to what their final grade is and invite them to one of these center locations. So we're planning on hosting workshops here at Johnson Space Center. We'll have 3 at Johnson, one at the end of March, one at the beginning of April, one kind of mid-April. We also have a new center participating, Armstrong Flight Research Center, which was formerly known as Dryden, and that's out in Southern California. We have the Wallops Flight Facility participating, which is on the East Coast, and they are in the Goddard Space Flight Center region. And we also have Stennis Space Center in Mississippi joining our complement this spring. So we have, as you can see, many locations that your students could go to. Most likely they will come to Johnson Space Center, but there's a possibility that they could end up at another one of these centers. And so, as I mentioned, we're in this phase right here, this spring recruitment. And of course, as much as you want to continue to be involved with NCOS, we invite you to be involved, and we will help and support you in your efforts to try and get the word out to your students and encourage them to participate and to apply. I will wait and see if there's any questions regarding this timeline. And if you feel comfortable with this timeline, you can let me know by clicking the 4th poll button across in the participant panel that I introduced at the beginning and give me a green check. If there's something you don't understand or have a question, you can give me a red X, and I'll find out what that question or comment is. Okay, looks like most of you are feeling all right with that timeline. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide and let Kayla talk to you about some of the pieces that we have put together for recruitment and kind of some of our next steps.
Okay, so we are nearing the end, and we just wanted to tell you more about the future. And so to start with our recruitment support, we still have some materials and we want to continue to be able to get those to you. And we have to obviously make new ones because we have changed around the name. But we have those ready to go, and we can ship those out to you. So if you're still interested, for sure, just let me know. You can send me a quick email. I know that all of you guys have my email. Or I can just look up where we've sent them before, and we can do that also. We also provide some informational sessions. And so we have a calendar of those events, and in the email that we can follow up with, we can include that calendar of events that you can make sure your students have it. Was there one other thing that we have to offer? Information and social materials, we can also do face-to-face visits. Oh, right. Okay, and we can also look into doing some face-to-face visits if it fits into our budget. We can definitely try to do those for some of the larger scale events that you guys may have at your colleges. Moving on to the next part, our application is now open for the next spring session, so you can still use the COS website, although some of the wording is going to be updated to explain some of the changes that we've made and start directing people to our NCOS website. And you can start getting the word out now about that to all of your students. As the third bullet says, I will be following up with an email with some of the details that we've talked about in this, mainly about the summit, how you can get involved, some of the recruiting stuff that you guys can make sure that we're all on the same page. And then I also just want to let you know that all of us are really excited here about the things that are coming and how these changes are going to impact the program as a whole. And I know that change is always difficult, and so we really appreciate you guys being here and supporting us through this. And some of the things that we're really hoping can come out of this is a higher retention rate. I know I talked to a lot of you all on the phone earlier last month about how we struggled with that last year. We had over 400 plus applications for COS in the spring, and we had 86 students complete those applications. So that's not something that we want to continue with. That's not a number or percentage that we want to see again. And so we are really hoping that we can, by transitioning into this, that we can see some improvement in that retention rate. We just think that it will help us with our recruitment, and it will help keep the students engaged. And we've seen a lot of positive impact just on the changes that they've made to the national program that they ran this fall. And we're hoping that we can take all of those things that they've learned and the things that they've done with the individual students, and we can apply that to our new NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars program, and that we can see some great improvement. So Alicia is taking you to the link right now, and I think, because it's up on my screen? Okay, so you guys should all be able to see it, and all of the information's on here. We've cleaned this website up quite a bit too to make sure that we're telling the message that we want to, and students can get on there and start applying for what are going to be some great experiences for them come springtime. So I believe this is the end, but I can't see them. Okay. All right. So we can, if you guys do have comments and questions, we still have about a few more minutes that we can be here to answer them and talk to you guys. But again, I really appreciate you guys being here today. And for those of you that listen later on, I appreciate that as well. And I know that it was great talking to you guys earlier this month, and we really did take a lot of the things that you guys have said and incorporate that into the changes that we've made. I can tell you a number of times talking to Cindy and Alicia, I was like, oh, one of the POCs that I talked to said this, and we should really try to make that change. And we're doing what we can, but we really hope that we can stay involved, and that you guys will still be there to help us make this the best community college program that we can. All right. Okay, so with Lenny's question about each participant from the school may go to other sites, and if the sites are determined by where the campus is located geographically, we do have to look at that somewhat just so that we can make sure that our budget fits the best with where students are. I'm not saying that that's definitely how it's going to be, that they'll only have to go to JSC, but right now the way we're looking at it and with the budget that we have to be smart about how far students are traveling and the number of students that require airfare. And JB, we'd like to thank you for being with the program since its inception. That's great, and that's why we know that we can't lose having you guys be a part of this. We know that you guys have made it what it is today, and so we want to continue using that expertise to make it even better in the future. Oh no. Okay, so the link went out again. Okay, we have... let's talk, Lenny. We can talk about what you can do for some of the costs to supplement travel. And that, I think that just by that question, that's some of the things that we can be a little more open to now with our new structure, because we have a little bit more flexibility in what our students are doing and how we're funding those students. And so maybe we can set up a time, we can email and talk about some options for what we can do to get your students to some other centers. That could help. Oh yeah, that's a good point, Alicia. All right, so so we can stick around if you all have any more questions or comments, and if not, you all are free to go. And we will be getting an email together. We're going to shoot for today, but if not, look for it on Monday to have kind of a summary of some of the things from today, the link so that you guys can watch this all again, or anyone else that needs to watch it, and then also some of the information that we talked about. I'm glad you guys are using the chat thing. This is helpful. And yes, Christina, we will be giving you a recording of the presentation, and we can also look at attaching the slides as well if it's not too big of a file. Well, it's always nice to have some travel money, so I think that this may be something that we can continue on in a further conversation and see what we can do to help some of your students be able to experience things that aren't just at JSC. Is it an application fee though, or is that an on-site fee? Okay. Yeah, so just to make sure the application, anyone can apply, it doesn't cost money to apply, but then if they're selected to come on site, there will be that $30 fee, and that helps take care of some of their things like t-shirts and other things like that. Or polos, that's a better word, because they're nicer than t-shirts. We have not actually come up with a timeline yet for November 13th, so Michael, the question of what time would the sessions begin, we're still working through that, but as Alicia said, as it draws closer, we'll have a better idea, and it may be something that you would still be able to attend for part of it, and it would still work out great for you. I'm not sure the answer to that one yet, but we can always look at that and see what we can do. Oh, for the POCs getting shirts, we will have to see how it will work out, but we'll keep it in our minds. And especially since we have this new idea, we can see it when you guys come on site, how that will work. Oh, JB is already planning on being here, so that's great. It looks like quite a few of you are typing, but again, if you don't have any other questions, you're free to go, and then you'll also get a link to this so you may be able to see their questions later. I know that keeping you from office hours or students or things on a Friday, you all want to probably get home for the weekend, so I don't want to keep you too long. Great, John. I'm glad that you plan on being here too. So for coordinating for the dates that your students attend so that they can take the campus bus, that's something that we can talk about. We can work out those logistics once we see who's been accepted. We have a little flexibility in where the students go and which dates they go to. So we can definitely keep in contact. And for the 7 hours, Lenny, it may be something, I'm not sure, we're still working out final numbers, but that might be something that those students would be able to fly with our new model, and it wouldn't have to take the bus and take 7 hours. And that would be at our expense. Great. Okay, well, I don't see many other people typing, so we don't have anything else to cover in this, but we will be following up with that email, and we are really looking forward to continuing to work with you guys, just changing it up a little bit. So thank you for joining us, and we hope that you guys have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. I do care, John. Thank you. We all do. That's why we're trying to do what we can to make this as easy of a transition as possible. You're so welcome. Thanks, Lenny.